Hey, welcome back, and hello to everybody joining us maybe for the first time. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida, and we are very, very proud to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And, of course, we are coming to you live from the Bradshaw Bourbon Studio. Drink up, my friends. Hope everyone is well. Good to see some regulars into the chat already. I see Bozic. I see Big Ben's Burner. I see Aaron. It's lit. Oh, it's lit, Aaron. It's lit. It sure ain't mid. I'm telling you that right now.
I don't know what any of that means.
Mid. Hello to all these guys, and hello to Steeler Nation at your leisure when you join the show. Lots to get to, guys. We've got everything from bad grades to combine stuff. The con artist spoke earlier today, and of course, we've also got roster stuff to dive into. The Steelers have a ton of different things they've got to deal with roster-wise. And hello to Tina. Tina, I don't know if Tina's ever been here before. So hello, Tina. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoy the show and we don't scare you away. In any case, welcome, guys. I hope everybody's good. Let's just dive right into this stuff. Scarps? The Pittsburgh Steelers received an F- in their treatment of families on the NFLPA survey. It's the second annual survey. F-? I mean,
I didn't even think they gave those out anymore.
I didn't even think they give F's anymore. I thought it stopped at E. But I mean, what in the world? How bad must things be to get an F-?
Yeah, I believe we talked about this on the show last year, but like the family. So this is not just okay. I just want to preface this by saying that, like, for those out there that think that this is just some joke or whatever, JJ Watt had a nice tweet the other night that I reposted. He basically said that, like, top 100 Pro Bowl, they're a joke, but like when people hand us this survey, we actually care about it. And the other one is team captains. So like, this isn't just like some angry player that voted or filled out the survey. Like, for all we know, it could be TJ Watt. It could be Cam Heyward. I mean, Cam Heyward has, I think, 4 kids now, at least 3 kids, maybe 4. And it's like, so anyway, so this isn't just some scrub doing it, but the layers to it is that the family area after the game is a clusterfuck. It is the same area where the media walk through. It's the same area where it's outside the elevators where there's suites, etc. And there's the administrative offices are there. Like, it is just a clusterfuck. And then every player has like a family there. So it's just this constant traffic. It's this very crowded area. So that's one thing that has never changed.
Scarps, is it fair to say, because I don't know this, and you've been in way more NFL stadiums than I have. You mentioned that families will be forced to go into Heinz/Acrisure, whatever the hell it is. Same areas as media and other people. In these other stadiums, is there much more privacy involved?
So I'll say this. I don't know for a fact, but I will say this. I have never been in another stadium where there was a large core group of people that were waiting for an opposing team's player to say hello to them. You know what I mean? Like it was like it is so clear that like their family members waiting for the players. I've never seen that in another stadium.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that an F- in that is a big deal. And I know fans want to cope and they want to simp for the Steelers, but like when the players are saying, "Hey, listen, we think so low of you, we're going to give you an F- about the way you treat my family." And if you, I mean, and like if people are like, "Oh, nobody cares about that." Like Steelers aren't going to lose free agents because of that. You're delusional because like you don't think guys. That's not either. You don't think guys talk to one another? Like, yeah, man, I played in Pittsburgh. They didn't give a shit about my family. They're locked.
Just look at the podcasts these guys do together.
Yeah,
of course they talk to each other.
Like, if you think Dallas had shitty facilities, Micah Parsons wouldn't be like blasting Jerry Joe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so.
But Ben, how important are facilities like this? The Kansas City Chiefs rated at the bottom too, and they've won 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. So a lot of people are like, this whole thing means shit. But I mean, you're in the corporate world. What do facilities mean to employees?
Well, first off, the Chiefs have Mahomes, which is why they keep winning.
That is a significant exception. Yeah.
The other thing is the Chiefs ownership is going to get roasted this week, not just for the fact that they want $1 billion in new tax money to benefit them for renovations for their stadium. It's actually $525 from the state, from the county, plus $300 from them, plus ongoing taxation that would benefit the stadium after the fact. So basically, they're asking for $1 billion. Okay, we could sit here and do the math and parse it out. But they want $1 billion. So they're getting roasted for that, and on top of that, being judged as the worst owner in the NFL. And the family treatment thing was bad there too. So all the way around, do these things matter? I guess if all you care about is winning, but I don't think that these guys are asking for the world. What they're asking for is a modern facility that rivals other cities' facilities. They don't want something bigger and better and badder. And one of the criticisms I've heard from some of the beats is, well, there's not enough room. There's not enough room. There's not enough room. They can't put more equipment in the weight room. There's not enough room in there. They can't make a bigger locker room, more spacious locker room, because there's not enough room in there. Well, great. Then, the Steelers are valued at over $4.5 billion. Build your own goddamn facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Build your own facility. Leave that one there for a pit and build your own facility. This is ridiculous.
I agree. Now, Ian, I'd like to bring you in on this, and I understand that you are not an architect, but would like to comment either way.
Hey, Melvin.
You're on mute, Ian. You're on mute.
Sorry.
There we go.
I had unmuted my computer, but my headphones were still muted because the baby started crying. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I am not, in fact, an architect, but I play one on TV like George Costanza. Or a marine biologist, depending on
importer, exporter.
Vandelay architecture. Okay. I agree. What they're asking for isn't that much. Like, you read the team-specific report, and it's like, they're one of 4 teams that doesn't have either a family room or on-site daycare during the games. Right. Okay. That's something that the majority of other teams offer. We were talking about this on Slack, and then I saw a few people kind of mention it on Twitter as well. So the Steelers are one of, I think, 5 or 6 teams that more than half of their roster came from free agency.
Right.
So these are more than half of their roster has played somewhere else in the league. The previous generation of players, the Ben Roethlisbergers, the Troy Polamalu's, the Heath Millers of the world, came to Pittsburgh in the early 2000s when you had a facility on the south side that was built in 2000, so relatively new, and a stadium that was built, in 2001, so relatively new facilities for that time. Since then, 16 teams have now built newer stadiums than us. A bunch of teams have built newer practice facilities, and you have colleges that have vastly improved their training facilities and their locker rooms. So you've got guys like Broderick Jones from Georgia or Najee Harris from Alabama who are like, wait a minute, went to the NFL and I'm now in a facility that's being operated like it's a mid-tier ACC school that's happy to make the Tire Bowl, not a team that's competing for the Super Bowl.
The Tire Bowl. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I haven't heard one Steeler player come out and say, I need a large screen TV in my locker. I need this in my locker. I think this is just about some basic upgrades.
So like, and I've if anybody gives a shit, but like I tweeted about this this week. Like I used to give tours to free agents, like big name free agents, potential draft picks, like not every, but like draft picks that, you get those visits. Like I would take them on a tour. And I remember like thinking to myself, like, okay, first year I'm there, I'm just not going to, I'm not even, everything's great. Everything's great. But like by the 4th or 5th year I was there and like the weight room still wasn't updated. I'm like, Jesus, I look like an idiot walking this guy around the building. And like there were literally like there were Super Bowl 40 embroidered patches on the weight room benches. And like, I'm like, dude, like where's the 43 benches at? You know what I mean? And I remember, and I'm not going to say the name, but like, it was a big name free agent that I took on a tour, and he's like, look at it. And I'm like, please don't ask about the benches. Please don't ask about the benches. And he's like, Super Bowl 40. He goes, didn't y'all win another one after that? I'm like, yeah. They'll be here next week. But no, like
nostalgia, man. It's all about nostalgia.
But and you're right. Steel Dad, you're right. They're not like, and this is what I like. Of course, people on X are like, oh, these guys don't need leather seats and video games and shit. It's like, they're not even asking for that.
No.
And I want to say this too. I know these guys make a good living. Some make a great living and an extraordinary living.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, these dudes love free stuff just like we all do. When the EA Sports guys used to come in and do the face scans for Madden, they would leave sleeves of video games on like the common area of the locker room, and these fucking dudes would fight over them like people on Black Friday. Like, I mean, like I'm not even kidding you. Like, I mean, literally, like fucking like guys fucking pushing each other, and like. So like these dudes are just like us, and I repeat, they're not looking for.
Oh shit! Now that's funny. That's fucking funny. For those listening, Big Ben's Burner has just said that the free agent that Scarps was talking about taking on a tour was Sean Mahan. I'm gonna guess it wasn't, but that's
before Scarp's time. But that is goddamn funny.
Yes, it was a little bit before, but like so like. These dudes aren't asking for like the world. Like they're literally just asking for a little bit more space, because these dudes, they get paid handsomely, but these dudes are in the building for 12, 14 hours a day, man. Like they see their teammates, they see their facility more than they see their family. They're looking for a fucking training table that's not 30 years old, or a locker that's a little bit bigger. Like, and I don't know if this is still the case, and I don't know, but like, I remember when I was still there, and it's been 7 years, but guys, the biggest beef with guys was, dude, like, we don't have anywhere to charge our phones. Like, they didn't even have like a fucking plug. They didn't even have a plug in their locker. Like what do we like? And I'm not like, so you're going to tell me that's the big deal. Oh, and by the way, these dudes lay their brains and bodies on the line for our entertainment, and we're going to get on our fucking soapbox and say,
entertained?
yes. And we're going to get on our soapbox and say,
point.
oh, shut up. Shut up. The Steelers in the 70s didn't have these accommodations. Tune into Casey later. I'm going to roll tonight.
Well, that's a good point too, because
go ahead.
There was a tweet floating around from a local radio host that compared LSU's locker room with actually the wrong Steelers locker room. He posted the one from Heinz Field, not the one from the training facility.
I call that.
Right. I think Ryan pointed that out very astutely. But the thing that jumped out to me isn't all the flashy chairs and banners and all that stuff in LSU's. It's like these dudes have chairs that have cup holders and plugs. And I was like, is it that much to ask for to have like a cup holder and a plug?
I have a park nearby my house that actually has charging stations at it that you can sit at a bench and charge your phone.
Right.
That's for the bums.
Well, yeah, when they're not in my backyard. Yeah, but you're exactly right, Ian. I mean, it's a very simple request in my book.
You could go to Starbucks and get the same accommodations, and you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you can't do it. And and I'm gonna be real about this. For me, I didn't give a shit because I was just happy to be there early on and get a free gym and all that stuff. And to give them credit, in 2016 they revamped their weight room and it is immaculate. But I guarantee you now, it's at that point where it's not big enough. And because they're so confined, because if you're facing the building, you got railroad tracks on this side, they got a road on the left, and then a river even further. There's nowhere to go. Horizontal. They can only go vertical, and they actually built the cardio room second floor above the weight room, and there's only room for 8 machines. And it's just what are we doing?
When you would give tours, those Scarps, I mean, did you feel a certain pressure to basically and here's the 6 Lombardis.
Let's go look at these Lombardis. And I did say that. And so early on, again, I didn't feel the pressure because I was this young, wide-eyed kid, wide-eyed kid, but the longer I was there, the more I was like, holy shit, we could really use this guy on this team. This is a big piece. This would be a big piece.
Yeah.
And literally I would hurry the tour up just so we could end, because it would literally be like, hey, let's go upstairs. Lombardi trophies. Hey, there's Mike Tomlin. Hey, okay, how you doing? It'd be like, but what are you supposed to do in that? It's wow, my high school weight room is worse than this. This training room is a joke. This locker room is a joke. What?
How often, just real quick, how often did players bring spouses with them? Free agent guys? Yeah. Would they ever bring them to the facility?
No.
Okay.
No. The only time, I would say the only time, no. Even if they signed, they were usually solo.
Okay.
But still,
yeah.
Getting back to the point, you could cope all you want, you can simp all you want for the Steelers, but I'm telling you right now, we're at a different time in professional football, and guys will absolutely go to another team, not just for the money, but for the accommodations.
Sure.
And
it starts in college.
Yes.
Where
it starts at high school.
Well, okay, it does now probably. Where universities I'll give you an example. The University of Oregon, and everybody bitches about their unfair recruiting advantage because their facilities are so nice. And how players are not going to other schools once they tour Oregon, they're going to Oregon. Then USC had to revamp all their facilities and make them really, really nice so that they can compete with Oregon. UCLA then followed suit. Then Washington followed suit. So the schools like Oregon State and Washington State and even Cal, they can't compete. Stanford's not trying to compete because they're the smart school, right?
Right.
Schools like Arizona State, can't compete with that. They're not going to get the cream of the crop because their facilities aren't as nice. Excuse me. And it's just kind of the name of the game. So it starts there, and then you go to the pros, having heard about these great facilities whoever had in college, and you want to go to the team that's got the nice facilities. And that is where it starts. And it is, it's a clout thing, I think, to a certain degree. But again, it's like Scarf's talking about. They're not asking for the world. They want charging stations and cup holders.
And they
enough space to store all their crap.
To
Right.
be
Not
fair,
have to wait in line to lift. Like that's not that.
Yeah,
long.
Yeah,
waiting in
that's
line
a
to
great
lift.
point.
When you're a professional athlete waiting in line to lift, come on.
Yeah, no.
you know,
This ain't the YMCA. No offense.
what's funny about that is that their strength and conditioning got a B+, and they fired their whole staff. like,
Yeah,
like,
that was funny. Um,
makes no sense.
Look, Western Michigan University is not far from me at all, and I've been in their facilities many, many times, and I can tell you right now that is a MAC school. We love MAC schools here on this program. They got better facilities than the Steelers do. They got a better weight facility. They got more room to do stuff. They got bigger lockers. They got more space in the locker room. And so ultimately,
Thanks, Bensberger coming in hot.
yeah, he did. And at the end of the day, and Ian, I'll ask you this: is this just about Art 2 being a cheapskate?
At the end of the day, yes. I mean, if you want to boil it down to the bottom line, like the point that Ben brought up earlier about they just go build your own facility, right? A couple years ago, the Penguins went and built a brand new practice facility for themselves up in Cranberry. And for those that don't know the geography of Pittsburgh, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers facility is on the south side, but it's not really proximate to the stadium, and it's not really proximate to any of the neighborhoods where the players live. For the most part, some of them live on the south side, but the players that have been here longer that go buy houses tend to go buy houses in the Wexford, Gibsonian, North Allegheny, Mount Lebanon, Upper St. Clair places of the world or of Pittsburgh. What do all those places have in common? Well, they're all sort of on the 79-279 corridor. And the Penguins built a facility right off of 79, right where 79 and the Turnpike come together in Cranberry, that has easy access to the airport, that has easy access to the neighborhoods where their players live. And the Steelers are like, no, we're going to stay in a facility shared with Pitt that's not even near Pitt's campus either, but it's down on the south side that is a bitch to get to and isn't close to the stadium or anything else. And they're just stuck there, right?
No, Ian, you're absolutely right, and I do think at that time it had its purpose. It did. Like it was a good partnership. UPMC is involved, and honestly, Dan DMR, God rest his soul, DMR was definitely part of that. Like because again, 25 years ago is 25 years ago.
Right. In 2000, that was a state-of-the-art thing.
Yes, it was a big deal. And a lot of people on the platform formerly known as Twitter, they keep saying like, oh, kick Pitt out. Actually, it makes more sense for Pitt to stay because Oakland's right across the river. Like it makes the most sense for Pitt. So like, I understand that you want this whole connection to Pittsburgh and the North Side, but there's not enough room anymore. You like, and I've said this, I've said this, and fans think I'm just an ass, even though I am. But like, eventually they're going to have to build a new stadium, and it's not going to be able to be built within the city limits. That's just those are facts.
Cranberry.
And here's what you could do.
Well, not unless they demo PNC Park, which they're not going to do.
Well, yeah.
No.
And they could literally build everything all in one place. You got your state-of-the-art stadium. You got your state-of-the-art facility. You got your shopping malls. It's like a Jerry world. I mean, that actually does make the most sense. But we're talking about a team that is going to go into the season with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph.
Oh, here we go.
On that note, let's move into the actual football here.
So, hey, Mark, what jersey is that on your chair? I see an 8. 8. Oh, 86.
Yeah.
We just a little background, folks that are listening at home. We accused Mark of being a Picketologist, having a Kenny Pickett jersey on his chair.
He is not. Omar Khan spoke today at the NFL Combine. Maybe we're just older and more experienced with these types of things, but there was absolutely no need for anyone to take to social media and take the words of the con artist and turn them into, oh, we're doing this, or oh, we're doing that. Guys, he
They
didn't
did the
say
same thing with Kevin every year.
exactly. And he didn't say anything that should have made anybody run to the hills and scream about a trade for Justin Fields, about Mason Rudolph, this or that, Kenny Pickett, this, that. He said the same company lines that we heard Art Rooney say, Mike Tomlin say. To me, the biggest thing he said, and I think, Ian, I think you posted this, but is that Broderick Jones was drafted to play left tackle. And that's good. That was the best news that I heard out of that. Ben, did you take anything out of Omar Khan's 10 minutes today?
Yeah, he was right up front. He said that we've had conversations with Mason Rudolph's representation, and they're aware of the fact that we want him to come back.
Yep.
So, yes, there was that, and then the other we drafted him to play left tackle.
Yeah.
The thing that occurred to me, the little impromptu session he had after the fact with a handful of beat reporters, and Kabali asked him straight up if they were going to trade for Fields, and the way he answered it kind of reminded me of Colbert in so much as he said a lot of words, but he said nothing. And the other thing
Kevin was very good at.
Yeah, the other thing with Colbert is that he would flat out admit he lied his ass off all the time. He's like, yeah, I can just lie to you guys again. It's no big deal. I mean, I do it all the time. I have no problem with it.
I don't either. And regardless, he did not say anything that anyone could take and definitively say this is what they're going to do. No GM says that. Well, I guess some do, and they're not GMs very long. Ian, did you pick up on anything today in those 10, 12 minutes?
No, and Mike Tomlin and Chuck Noll before him and Bill Cowher too were also very good at. Well, Chuck Noll just thought the media was the enemy and never wanted to talk to them. Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin were both very good at saying a lot of words without actually saying anything. Yeah. Tomlin's probably like the master class at that. But no, other than him saying we drafted Broderick Jones to play left tackle and that's where he's going to play, like that, I was like, thank goodness we don't have to watch Dan Moore there anymore. And yeah, because. If Myles Garrett wants to thank anyone for winning Defensive Player of the Year, he should probably thank Dan Moore for how he played in the 2 games against him. But
I think he should thank the Indianapolis Colts, but that's me.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a ridiculous game. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was.
But at any rate, I digress. He talked. It wasn't a whole lot of substance. But,
right.
But they're never going to come out and say like, oh yeah, we offered the Bears a 2nd round pick for Justin Fields, and they said no, they want to. Like, they're never gonna come out and say that. So it's just people expecting that stuff is just ridiculous. And we all knew at the end of the year. I mean, we talked about it on this show that they were gonna want to give Kenny another year to try and prove himself. So they weren't gonna go after like a big name starting quarterback. That it was gonna be. Kenny and some kind of journeyman backup, whether that's Mason Rudolph, whether that's a Jacoby Brissett or a Gardner Minshew or whoever else, although those other 2 might be better than the previous 2. But nevertheless, it's going to be a competition, and we're going to just have to suffer through middling quarterback play once again.
Yeah. Scarps, what did you want to say?
So many things.
Who do you want to be the quarterback next year, Scar?
No.
You can have anybody be the quarterback. Who would that guy be?
Jaden Daniels.
We'll talk about this.
Really?
Can we do this after?
Sure.
Can we after I just say this? Can we hold that thought?
Yeah.
I would say this is the thing that caught my attention. This is now the third of the big 3 to say that we want Mason back.
Yep.
And I know many people will be like, well, that's not a big deal. They're all on the same page. It is a big deal, but it's not a big deal because they're all on the same page. It's a big deal because it's not something that they have to say, but they've said it. They could simply say, hey, Mason's a free agent. We're not going to talk about, because Kevin Colbert was the king of, I'm not going to talk about a contract situation. Kevin Colbert was the king of that.
Mhm.
We're not going to talk about that. So the fact that Tomlin, Rooney, Art II, and Omar have all said, Mike, Art II, and Omar, I like OCD consistency, said, we want Mason back. We're, our people are talking to his people. To me, that's either they're trying to motivate Kenny, which is fucking incredibly sad, or they actually do want Mason back, and they think that based on what they saw from Mason the past 3 games and that playoff game in Buffalo, that this guy actually might be decent, which again is so sad for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, it is.
But
it is. Getting pushed to the bench for the guy who got pushed to the bench by Doug Hodges is not a good sign. It doesn't bode well for your career. But let me ask you guys all something. And I know I'm asking you to take a wild-ass guess. Wild-ass, semi-educated guess here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think that what Mason Rudolph needs to hear is that there will be a legitimate competition at quarterback before he comes back? Because that's my instinct.
I would agree with that, because I think he got told that after Ben retired, and then they went out and signed Trubisky and drafted Pickett, and he was kind of like, what the fuck? Like last year on this show, probably about this time, there was actually it was the week before, because I went back and watched the Blitzies from last year, and we were talking about this topic also, was that Mason had said he didn't want to come back to the Steelers, and then he went out, explored free agency, and no one was really interested, and he wound up coming back to the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this year, a year later, he's holding all the cards. And because he came in and, he played better than any of our quarterbacks have played since Ben retired.
I think he's holding all of the cards with the Steelers. I don't think he's going to have a bunch of offers.
No, when that was the point I was going to get to, was I think for Mason Rudolph, if he knows it's a true competition, this is his best bet. Because if he goes and signs with another team, he's either going to be on a team that's going to be drafting a rookie to come in and replace him in a few weeks, or he's going to be like competing with Daniel Jones in New York, who is signed to a big money contract, and he has to hope that Jones either sucks or gets hurt. So it's not, there's not a lot of quarterback situations out there that aren't either going to be like, if he goes to Vegas or if he goes to Atlanta, those teams are probably going to draft rookies, whether it's the first round or the second round or the third round. But like, how long, let's just say hypothetically, right? Sure. Let's say hypothetically, the Falcons miss out on Justin Fields. They miss out on trading up. They wind up taking Michael Penix in the second or third round, right? If Mason goes there and knows Michael Penix, who is like a Heisman finalist, is behind him, how long's his leash, right? It's going to be like Trubisky's leash here. It was really damn short, and then they brought the rookie in. So Mason's best bet is to stay here. I think Ben's right, though. He just needs to know he has a shot to start here.
Scarps?
I mean, there's what you say and what you do. And if I'm Mason Rudolph, because he has nothing to lose. He really doesn't. He has nothing to lose. If I'm Mason Rudolph, I don't know who in that building is the right person to go to, but it's probably Mike Tomlin. I tell Mike, I want to meet you somewhere. I want to talk about this. And I look Mike Tomlin right in the eye and I say, are you going to fucking give me a fair shot or not? Because I fucking saved your non-losing season streak.
There you go.
And I'm being, listen,
you ain't wrong.
And Mike Tomlin says, hey, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know the dynamic there. So this is all hypothetical. So maybe Mike Tomlin says, yeah, dude, you're right. You're right. You're right. I get it. Yes, I will give you a fair shot. Okay. And Mason thinks about it and says, you know what? I believe Mike, not just because he got an A in the Steelers report card, but I believe Mike. And I believe that this is the best shot for me to compete for the starting job, but also knowing that Kenny gets hurt a lot, I probably would start a game this year. And even if they give it to him because he played next door and I played at Oklahoma State, within the first 6 games, if Kenny sucks or gets hurt, I'm more than likely going to start. I mean, and Ben, and I know I fuck with you, but like, Mason Rudolph is not the long-term solution. He's not.
Nope.
And neither is Kenny.
But
neither is Kenny Pickett.
Neither is Kenny. And I don't think any of us believe that either one of those guys are the long-term solution. But I asked the question and tried to frame it out of fairness. Has Mason Rudolph earned the right to compete for that job? And in my opinion, he has. And I've criticized that guy relentlessly.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, again, the proof is in the pudding. And he came out and he did enough all the time. For 3 weeks, he did enough. Did enough to bring his team up. And that resulted in a couple of tough victories. I'm not going to give them a lot of props for the Baltimore win because they had some guys sitting on the bench, but it's an away game, right? Place to play.
That Seattle game.
Yep.
Dude, the balls Mason showed in that Seattle game.
I agree with you. I was there. It was I was so psyched. I was just like, who the fuck is that guy?
I joked last week about Mitch Trubisky's final throw as a Steeler was the best play of the year, but like Mason's throw to Pickens or that third down to Diontae were the plays of the year, or that touchdown in Baltimore to Diontae.
The throw to Pickens where he was gonna get his ass kicked, and he knew.
Yeah,
he still that was in there. He waited. Yep. He stepped forward, delivered the ball on time. That was money because. Oof.
I know, Ian, you have another point here.
Yeah.
And really the last thing I'll say on this is that I think sometimes gets overlooked is not just the fact that Mason came in and played well, but there's a lot of guys that would be sitting there as second and third string quarterbacks who would have said, to hell with this. They would not have been prepared to play at all. And to his credit, he was prepared to play.
And he got.
Oh, no, that's actually a good segue into the point I was going to make that, we have ragged on Mason's performances on this show relentlessly, right? That he got benched for Duck Hodges.
Not this guy.
the performance against the Lions when they tied the Lions. Right.
So bad.
But I think something that gets lost is it's tough to play quarterback in the NFL, and that's why these journeyman veterans can come in and start games and win games for you. They can't play a whole season. They're not a long-term solution, but guys get better over time, sometimes, usually, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
But, and I think this might have been where Ryan was going too, that Mason kept working, and he was not good at first, but he's better now than he was then. And the example I always go back to is like, Ryan Fitzpatrick sucked ass the first year with the Bengals. And by the end of his career, like he just got a little better every year. And by the end of his career, it was like, it was that Fitz magic or Fitz tragic, but like, nevertheless, he was a decent quarterback by the end of his career. And Mason has shown like he's getting better, and he's better now than he was 3 years ago.
The throw that Ben was talking about, where he hung in the pocket and delivered it to Pickens. He doesn't do that his first couple of years in this league.
No,
and so that's to your point, Ian. He got better.
Yeah, he waited. He knew it was going to be there. Yep. He waited for his window, and he delivered the ball. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, he doesn't do that his first couple of years.
I saw it live, and I was like, holy shit. That was wow. That was stuff. When I watched the replay on all 22, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was way more impressive than I thought when I saw it. Holy shit.
Are you guys convinced on February 29th that they appear leap day. Thank you. They appear very much to be prepared to go into the spring and then training camp with Pickett and Rudolph. Do you think that's their plan right now?
I think they're hoping Rudolph comes back. I don't know that they know for sure that he is.
Right.
Because, I think that Rudolph is going to kind of weigh his options apparently, or he would have already resigned. And maybe, they're doing the thing that Colbert did before, because Omar came up over, behind Colbert. And it's like, hey, maybe the guy wants to be guaranteed a starter's position someplace. And let's let him go out there and see what's there first. And then, back and talk to us. And we'd like to bring him in and sign him. Have him on our team next year. What do you guys think? What do you guys think, though? What's a fair price now for Mason? That's the question for me.
Yeah, and I know Burner had that question in the chat too. I think you probably do a 2-year deal with him.
Give me 5 minutes. Come back.
Give
to
you
this
5
topic.
minutes.
I'm gonna look up contracts. Give me 5 minutes.
I'm just gonna keep it simple. For me, it's the contract that Mitch got in 2022. It's $7 million, and he deserves it. It's $7 million a year and change base, and then with incentives, it more than doubles. If he plays more than 65% of the snaps, which means he started a whole bunch of games, then his salary basically more than doubles.
And Jamie brings up a good point about these receivers. You ever notice that the only time Diontae Johnson sucks is when Kenny Pickett's the quarterback?
Yeah. I have noticed that.
You know what I mean? And everybody listen, I've been critical of Diontae Johnson. I think that he runs backwards too much.
He does a lot of things
side to side.
He does have some drops, but to me, that's all coachable. That's all coachable. That's coaching. But I will say that the only time he sucks is when Kenny Pickett's throwing in the ball. So Diontae Johnson has publicly talked about Mason, and he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
You think did George Pickett throw a shit fit when Mason Rudolph was quarterback, or was that only when Kenny and Mitch were throwing him the ball?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I don't give a shit about Kenny Pickett's feelings. If they believe in Mason and they think he's the guy, you got to fucking feel that pulse of your team. And maybe that's why Mike and Art and Omar are like, you know what? If we don't re-sign this guy, at the minimum, we don't re-sign him, this is not going to be good. This dude needs to be back in the building regardless.
I think they need
believe
to make
in him.
Effort. Yeah, they need to show that they made an effort to re-sign him.
Yes, that has to be apparent, because if they don't, then they would be basically admitting that we've ignored the entire spirit of the team in those
wide receiver
games.
Sorry. But if I'm Mason, I'm only doing a 1-year deal with the Steelers.
Really?
Yes.
1 year, huh?
Because if I get dicked around again, I'm still 1 year younger, not under contract, and maybe somebody else takes a chance.
It's a fair point, because the guy probably has an argument that he's been dicked around before.
It depends on how much they're offering,
right,
and how much security that offers, man. If they give him the big signing bonus, which they gave Mitch. They gave Mitch a nice signing bonus. He got more than his first year's comp, AAV, in signing bonus when he came on board.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're going to do a deal like that again, I don't know, man. I think that he needs to look at what's best for him long term and his financial health. And to me, that's a good deal. He should take that money and roll.
Ian, what have you been able to find there?
Yeah, so the contract I was looking at was Taylor Heineke's in Atlanta, which was similar to what Ben mentioned. It was 2 years, $14 million with basically $6.5 million guaranteed. But you know,
yeah,
you
Mitch
stack
got more money than that guaranteed.
Yeah, and Heineke's was a lot in the signing bonus was small, but it was a lot in per game bonuses and roster bonuses and things like that. That there was a lot of incentives in it. So that's probably like if I'm Mason, Ryan, I'm gonna disagree with you. But if I'm Mason, I would take a 2-year deal if they give me a bigger signing bonus. If it's like, hey, if you give me 6 or 7 million as a signing bonus up
That's what I
front,
said.
I'll take the second year because I'm gonna have that cash in hand, even if it's an incentive laden contract.
But okay, yeah, okay, I see that. But if let's say, I guess it comes down to, does he think he's actually going to get a fair shot to compete? And is he actually going to
that's the
play?
question.
100%.
And if he and I'm
he
being,
deserves it.
our
We all agree that.
let's I'm making this up, but let's say whoever team says, hey, Mason, we'll give you a 2-year deal, guaranteed whatever, but there's no chance you're going to start unless somebody gets hurt. And he says, oh shit, well, I'm never going to play, but I'm going to make more money than I would at the Steelers. I'm not going to blame him if he does that. But if he says, you know what, I don't trust the Steelers for 2 years. I only trust them for 1. That's the way I look at it, because if I'm him, I do not fucking trust the Steelers. And that is,
there's a lot of reasons not to.
I can't believe I'm saying that, but
typically 1-year deals though aren't for very much money, especially when you're in Pittsburgh.
But you know what though? Like, I sit there and think like how much has the dude really made in his career? And what is he? That's the other thing. What is he really gonna command, or command in the open market? But going back to the point, 3 team officials have said, we want him back. We want him back. Whose mind are they fucking with? Are they fucking with Kenny's or Mason's?
Well, look, we've spent a lot of time talking about
Maybe they just want him
Mason.
back. Maybe they just want him back.
I mean, there was a lot of chatter, I'll call it that Kenny may have lost that locker room a little bit. Maybe his attitude went a little south, especially when he was, healthy and was not given the nod. So maybe he's got some maturing to do, and maybe that's what this is as well. This is an opportunity for him to say, no, I can rise above it. I'll be fine. Or he shrinks and doesn't meet the challenge. I don't know. I just get that feeling that when, as Scrubs pointed out, you've got all 3 of these bigwigs all saying, yeah, we'd really like Mason back. If I'm Kenny, I can't ignore that. Can't ignore that. I have to hear that.
I mean, he could just walk next door and pout.
Well,
because they share share a building.
For those just joining us, Pitt does share a facility with the Steelers.
They share a building. Because
right.
Twitter set me straight, because I never been in either side, because fuck, who am I? But yeah, you know what? I'm the guy that's going to take. Here's a guy that's going to take a piss.
Nah, here's a guy. Roster talk, guys. Some of the decisions the Steelers are going to have to make, and I did kind of chuckle tonight a little bit at Omar Khan when he brought Robinson was brought up. I wouldn't say he just dismissed the question and moved on, but he pretty much dismissed it and moved on pretty quickly. I think we all agree that's a guy that's going to be cut, right, Ian?
Yeah, it's $10 million you're going to save by cutting the guy. I mean, there's 4 players, and I published an article on this over the weekend, so you can check out steelcityblitz.com. There's also a full roster breakdown if you want to be a huge nerd and just go through it all. But there's 4 guys that have roster bonuses due in mid-March. So Allen Robinson has a roster bonus due, and they'd save $10 million against the cap if he's cut. Like, that's a no-brainer to cut him. The other ones I think are a little bit more interesting. You got Diontae Johnson, you got Larry Ogunjobi, you got Patrick Peterson. So those ones I think are more interesting conversations. But
Larry O and Patrick Peterson are the two that I'm like,
yeah, that's where I was going to suggest we start. Let's start with Larry Ogunjobi. Ben,
Larry O is only 30, and when he's healthy, he's good. The problem is he can't stay healthy.
Right.
The dude cannot stay healthy, and it's a recurring chronic foot injury that isn't going away. So I'm not sure. I mean, Larry had some moments this year where you were like, damn, that's the guy that I wanted to see right there. Look at that dude. That's amazing.
But was his overall play in 2023 worth the money that he was paid?
I mean, maybe.
I'm in the same way. I mean, I think he played 16 out of 17 this year.
He played almost every game.
Yeah, his availability was significantly better.
He didn't practice much.
Right. He was a classic no Wednesday guy.
Yeah, or he'd practice on Wednesday and then he wouldn't practice Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Things along those lines. And it was just like, okay, what's going on, dude? And then some games he was highly effective. Actually, some plays he was highly effective, and some others kind of seemed like he was taking a play off. I don't know. That's the wrong way to describe it.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
He just was not as effective at some moments. And it was like, let's put it this way. A 35-year-old coming off of a ripped abdominal muscle, Cam Heyward, was more effective.
So I think, just to put some raw numbers out there, Ogunjobi has a roster bonus of $4.75 million due on March 17th. They'd save $6 million. His base salary is $5 million. So they could save like $6 million out of his $13 million cap hit if they cut him. I think what they're going to do, though, is they're going to restructure. They're going to take most of the base salary, all the roster bonus, convert it to like a signing bonus, spread it out, because he has 2 years left. So spread it out over 2 years, and then if he's not good this year, they'll just cut him next year and take the dead money hit next year. So I think Ogunjobi's a restructure.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, Ian and Ben know the salary cap stuff as well as anybody. I
think that's a possibility. The thing we need to bear in mind is he's got Keanu Benton right there who can play DT and is on the rise. He's a guy on the come, where Larry is apparently on the downside. So I don't.
Real quick, what's going on behind Scarps here?
That's my one.
Is he laying on his back?
Yeah, my one pop Ned.
Ned is living his best life back there.
He is a rescue, and
good for you.
Very, very early on, he showed his belly to us, which it's a sign of weakness in an animal, and he gives zero fucks. You know who else gives zero fucks? Ben, who just said on the come. Like,
I have no fucks to give.
No,
I'm just teasing. No, that's Ned. He sleeps. Zoe's our older one. She sleeps on a bed. She's sophisticated. So.
Oh, fancy. So Ian, based on what you just said, do you feel fairly confident that that's what they'll probably do with Larry O? They'll find some kind of restructure there?
Yeah, I think so. I just to save themselves some cap space this year. And like Ben mentioned, he's only 30. So if this winds up being Cam Heyward's last year, that gives you a little stability into next year if Ogunjobi plays well and you want to keep him around. So, yeah, I think Robinson's definitely a cut. I think Ogunjobi, they restructure.
Okay. Let's get into Cam Heyward, and then we'll
What-
get to Pat. No, I'm sorry, Patrick Peterson first.
Yeah, Peterson first.
Yeah, what
Did I
is-
miss one?
Nah, we just really did Larry O,
Okay.
Ryan, while you were squirting.
Something like that.
Come
Wow.
squirt, it's all over the place tonight.
Oh, you
My
were
God.
pooping.
Who-
I was definitely not pooping.
Our
I'm just saying.
No.
new fans are now turning us off.
Yeah,
They're
I
like,
know.
enough of this shit.
Yeah,
You
we
could-
lost the.
You
new
could say
people
it's
a long
our
time ago.
only fans. Thank you very much.
Our only
Well,
fans. Yeah.
OnlyFans. Yeah, Patrick Peterson. What does his contract situation look like? I mean, I think he's back. I think Tomlin loves him, likes having his veteran versatility. I know that kills Scarps.
All right,
Kills
I'll
me
run through
too.
the contract, then I'll let you guys talk.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
he has a $9.8 million cap hit. They would save 6.8 of it if he was cut. He's due a $3 million roster bonus on March 17th. So if they pay him that $3 million, they're probably going to keep him around.
yeah.
My gut feeling is they ask him to take a pay cut, and but I don't know. So that's just, 1 year left on his contract. So it's either you keep him at almost $10 million, which seems insane, or you cut him and save $7 million of that. And it's $3 million out of the bank in mid-March. They'd have to pay him too.
Yeah, I agree with Berner here. Add the shut the fuck up clause. Man, does he chirp a lot with zero to back it up. I agree. That's just too much money for him. Are we all kind of in agreement that he's pretty much got to stay on the inside now?
Yeah, please keep him at slot or fucking
Yeah.
safety. Just,
Yeah.
keep nickel or safety. That's
He
where
just
should
can't
be.
run with guys anymore.
Out there. Out there on an island by himself. No, and I liked him at free safety. Unfortunately for him, the guy that we have at free safety who should be playing free safety,
Mhm.
Minka Fitzpatrick, is an all-pro. So that's definitely not happening. He's not playing free.
I know this is segueing from the topic at hand, but recently I've seen a lot of people, including like some of the beat writers, talk a little bit about Minka Fitzpatrick being better as a in the box strong safety, and I don't understand that.
Better how?
I think they refer to it more as because it allows KZ to play a more traditional thing that fits him, and I'm like, wait a minute, who's the all pro here? I mean, don't we want to fit things for the all pro, not for the journeyman?
I've talked about it on this show, and I stand by it. Pulling Minka out of position it degraded the entire defensive backfield.
Yes,
Because you had a guy who is an elite presence at free safety back there, and they tried to avoid throwing the ball where he was going to be. And they moved him to kind of a rover position where he's playing strong, free, middle, whatever. You never know. And he's been less effective as a result. He's not an elite box safety. He's just a safety.
Yeah.
He makes some good plays. He's a tremendous athlete, but he's not the guy who's generating turnovers. He's not the guy who's tracking the ball in the air as a center fielder.
Yeah,
We need that guy again.
Everybody hated Terrell Edmonds.
Terrell Edmonds, that's another guy. I mean, like the Steelers are rumored to be interested in Edmonds again. And again, I hope they can bring him back, especially if his price tag is somewhere in the,
it would have to be pretty inexpensive, wouldn't it?
He signed a 1-year deal for $2 million with
Yeah.
Philly because he wanted to prove himself and then go out into free agency again.
You got
And
traded.
Philly, promptly traded him. So, I don't know. Let's just say hypothetically his number's 3.5 or 4 a year. Do you do it? I do it. I do it all day long.
Yes.
Getting back to Patrick Peterson, I'm in the same position I was last year when we signed the guy. We are being nostalgic and thinking about what he used to be. And except for a couple plays this year, He was shit, and he's old. Patrick Peterson
Hater.
is Patrick Peterson. That signing Patrick Peterson to the Steelers is what the Pirates do with fucking everybody they sign in free agency, because nobody wants them. They're old, and they think that they can get something out of them. And listen, Patrick Peterson was once an All-Pro, was once arguably the best cornerback in the game. He's not anymore. And I'll tell you this, I understand that this team lacks veteran leadership in certain areas, but this team needs to understand sooner rather than later that you can't always keep guys around. And this has nothing to do with Cam Heyward.
Yeah.
I know we'll talk about him next, but like, I know that, like, I don't want to say he's Tomlin's boy, but like, but that's sort of kind of how it sounds. And it's just like, no, we got to keep this guy because he was once good and he might be good again or might be serviceable again, but he has veteran leadership. Fuck that. What do we do? Like, is this charity, or are we trying to win Super Bowls? Like, cut him, cut Levi Wallace. Fuck. I'd rather put some young rookie out there that's terrible. Like, Patrick Peterson sucks.
No. Levi Wallace is a free agent, and
sorry,
the Steelers
you get what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Are allegedly interested in him. I wouldn't object to Ian's scenario where they brought Peterson back and they said, "Hey, we're going to bring you back, but we want you to waive your roster bonus." But completely, or bring it down to like $1 million.
But bring him back for where? Because he can't play corner anymore.
He can't tackle. That's the problem. He can't tackle. Like, I would just let him go. But I think the problem that they're in right now is, like we talked about, Levi Wallace is a free agent. James Pierre is a free agent. Right now, your only corners under contract for next year are going to be Joey Porter Jr., Corey Trice, who didn't play at all.
Right.
And can't stay healthy.
Darius Rush, who may or may not be a safety or a corner.
No,
and
awful.
Patrick Peterson, who can't run and can't tackle. So really, JPJ is your only cornerback you have under contract right now for next year if you don't keep Peterson around. And I think that's the problem that they're in right now.
I don't disagree. Let's talk a little bit about Diontae before we get to Cam, because Diontae's interesting situation.
Not really.
Right.
Well, I say that,
interesting.
Last year of his contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely picked up his game, I think, in terms of his overall attitude when Mason Rudolph was under center. But yet there are still some hiccups there. So is it just simply a matter of he plays it out? Do they add on some years to his contract? I mean, where are we going with him?
So I'll run through the numbers, then you guys can talk.
Okay.
So Diontae is due a $3 million roster bonus on March 20th. He's in the last year of his contract, which has a $15.8 million cap hit, which is the highest on the offensive side of the ball. We would save $10 million against the cap if he was cut or traded before March 20th, when that roster bonus is due.
So there's no way they're trading him after March 20th.
No, if you pay him the $3 million, you're not going to trade him.
Right. I mean, you could. But
you could, right? But you've already
depending on what you get back. I mean, do you want to pay $3 million for a draft pick? If you're Art Rooney, probably not.
What was that before? Didn't we see somebody post like a mock draft that had Diontae Johnson being traded for like a third rounder? I can't remember the scenario, but I was like, holy shit.
Dumb as fuck, yes.
What are people doing?
I don't know.
I don't think they get rid of him. I think he plays next year.
So do I, but I don't think they extend him.
No, I don't either.
I don't think they extend him, and I think that after this season, he's gone.
I am leaning towards that too, Ben.
The reason being that they don't historically pay more than one receiver, and they're gonna pay George Pickens.
Oof.
And if they don't pay him right now, in their minds, they're thinking, well, we got Pickens coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to be better, so we're going to pay him, not Diontae.
Let's see, this will be his third year, right? Yeah.
Diontae?
Pickens.
Yeah.
He's going into his third. Okay.
Pickens' third year, correct.
Right.
So after this season, they're going to want to extend him.
Well, when you look across the wide receiver landscape there in Pittsburgh, I mean, we all agree Allen Robinson's going to be cut. I think Kelvin Austin 3 is he's got great speed, but I don't know
Nice
that
returner.
Yeah, I don't know that he's a guy that I want as my slot guy. I think I can do better. Maybe. I mean, it was technically it was his rookie year this year.
Yeah,
because he missed his entire first year. So, but I mean, I don't know. I look, the Steelers always seem to draft a wide receiver. It's like
So, still, Dad, you bring that up.
Yep.
Real quick about Diontae. I would extend him. I think he's our most consistent wide receiver.
Okay.
I think he is an elite route runner. And as I alluded to earlier, the only time he's not good is when Kenny Pickett's throwing him the football. and hopefully they address that soon. But I would say this. We talk about this all the time about the consistency. And one of the things that Mike Tomlin does so well is win 1-score games. Mike Tomlin has bucked the trend for years in these 1-score games. I'm telling you right now, math is undefeated. You will eventually regress to the means. So that being said, how many times is this group going? And sorry, how many times are the Steelers going to be successful at drafting wide receivers? Because this is not the same group as Kevin Colbert's group was. And how many times did Kevin Colbert draft a wide receiver that wasn't that great? Marcus Wheaton was okay. Justin Brown was okay. Sammy Coates Justin Brown, 2013 6th rounder out of Penn State and Oklahoma. Something like that.
Anyway, okay.
You're correct.
Hey, Sammy Coates had more good blocks than he did receptions.
Justin Brown was not okay. Marcus Wheaton actually was.
Wheaton had some games.
Sorry. Okay. But my point is that Chase Claypool was also a home run pick as a rookie, and look what happened his second year, and now he's irrelevant.
What happened was his quarterback changed.
Not in his second year.
Second year, that's true. It's true.
It's still bad. Okay, but my
nevertheless, he's not even in the league.
I think he's on the Dolphins. He's still in Dolphins. But the point is, like, forever, like you were able to unload Chase Claypool for Joey Porter Jr. But like, so you're gonna unload Diontae for a 2 with no guarantee that whoever you pick is gonna be any good. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Diontae's our best wide receiver. He's our best wide receiver we've had probably since AB. And
I would like to keep Diontae as well.
Extend him.
I don't disagree with you. I think they should keep him. I don't think they will. Bottom line, I don't think they will.
So
I think they'll let him leave.
I have a question for you guys, and maybe it's the same thing Ben's saying in a different way. Do you think Diontae wants to come back? I mean, he's had outbursts in the locker room. May or may not have punched Mitch Trubisky. He's had plays that he's taken off.
He had outbursts this year.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think, like, and that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, maybe he's a candidate for an extension, but does he want to stay here, or does he want to try and go somewhere else?
If you had the opportunity to go play with a significantly better quarterback, why wouldn't you?
So basically, if you could play for 29,
any of the other 20, yeah, I knew that was coming.
Well, if Mason's a starter, I think you would want to stay.
That'd be only 26 more teams.
Look, he made that clear. He said on his way out of the locker room, I want Mason to be the guy.
Yep.
I mean, he's on record. Everybody knows it.
Yep.
But, man, I mean, I think we talked about it in our Slack channel. I mean, can you imagine him going to Kansas City?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the guy would just be an absolute stud there.
Yeah.
Hey, if Kansas City offered us the number 32 pick for Diontae Johnson, I would
yeah,
take
bye.
that trade.
Oh,
See ya.
I'd help him pack.
Yeah.
For the 32,
I would too.
absolutely.
I would too.
Hey, let's not forget, like, the Ravens got a first-round pick for Marquise Brown out of the Cardinals. Now, granted, like, here's the thing, though,
Cardinals.
right? Like, it only takes one, though, right? You know, that's the example I always go back to. Like, it only takes one team to do something stupid. And maybe the Chiefs probably aren't the stupid team, but the Raiders exist, right? And so I'm just saying.
Yeah, the Raiders and the Cardinals do exist. That's a good point. It really is.
Marquise Brown is a free agent, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Steelers should sign him, and all the other free agents too. Just bring him into camp on a minimum contract.
George brought up a great point in the chat. Oh, I pointed the wrong way. In the chat that we need a true slot receiver. Like, we can't just have a slot receiver that comes in motion and blocks. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yes, I would give my kingdom for Eli Rogers again, who could just like get open out of the slot and get you a first down.
Did you ever think you would have said that though?
No,
Jericho Cotchery. That is the guy.
Yes.
Jericho Cotchery to come back and play slot. I'd be like, oh yes, this is fucking great. That dude. Yeah. How many touchdowns did he catch out of the slot?
10. I think.
Oh man,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's second and goal on the 3. Cotchery's about to catch a touchdown. Watch this. Yep, there it is.
He was a great professional too.
Dude, I remember, dude. He was oh god, what an amazing person and player. I remember we did we trade for him?
I think we signed him in free agency.
No, it was a free agent. Was it the lockout year or 20? Yes, it was. It was a lockout year, 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember outside the cafeteria training camp. I was always the low man on the totem pole, but people would be like, "Hey, who is that? Who's this?" Media would be like, "Who's this? Who's that? Who's this?" And I remember they were like, "Is this the new guy?" I was like, "Nah." I knew it was him though. And I remember I walked down the stairs. I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "They want to talk to you." I was like, "Nice to meet you. I'm Ryan. They want to talk to you." He's like, "Man, I just got here." But I was like, "Dude, I got you." I was like, "Eat your food." I was like, "Go out the other way and you'll get to a golf cart. We'll talk to him after." Anyway, but oh, dude, he was so great. Jericho Cotchery, fucking professional's professional, pro's pro.
What's he doing now? Wouldn't surprise me if he was coaching.
So he just got a head coaching job at not a D1 school, but I don't. I literally saw it today. Literally saw it today.
Good for him.
He was at the Jets, Steelers, then Panthers.
Yeah. The question came up from Burner, and I'm sure we'll address it throughout the training, or not training camp, but the draft process. But quarterbacks in this draft, we were all kind of laughing today that we all hope that JJ McCarthy goes early so that it's not even a question. JJ has a wonderful arm and he can move in the pocket, but there's times when he goes 5-6 throws where he can't throw it in the ocean.
Hey, and there's some buzz now that Rattler might be a first round pick.
I mean, that to me is nuts.
I really, like I said, I really kind of hope so. Like, if he got taken in the top 20 and a good player was pushed down
to us.
Yep. I am all for it. All for it.
I mean, I just can't see. Now, Rattler, when he came to Oklahoma, I mean, there was a lot of talk that this was a guy that, potentially could be a first-round pick, but he just regressed. I mean, he didn't do that well. He ended up in South Carolina, but as Ian pointed out, he's like a Jay Cutler. I mean, one game he throws 5 TDs and 400 yards, and the next week he throws 3 picks and 72 yards, So I don't know. I'd be real cautious about him.
Rattler's also small.
He is. He's on the smaller side.
He's not as small as Kyler, but
no, not small as Kyler. No, I watched some of Pratt from Tulane. I think he's like he reminds me a lot of Kenny Pickett, actually. So
Yeah.
like I don't know if I would take him. The guy that intrigues me, which I know Mark's going to have conniptions over, is Milton from Tennessee. That like, because I know he was like just sucked at Michigan, but like he's big, he's got an arm, and he's got legs. But
yeah,
like, so he's got the raw. He's got like the raw traits, but he has no refinement or skill to his game at all.
And if he was there in the 6th or 7th, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah,
I mean, you cannot teach the athletic skills that he has in terms of his feet and his arm. I mean, the guy can literally flick it on a dime 50 yards without even thinking about it. I mean, it's unreal to watch him throw. But that said, yeah, I don't want to invest too much in him.
No, I would not use a day 1 or 2 pick on him. I'm saying like day 3, if it's 4th or 5th round and he's there, like 5th round for Milton. Yeah. Like I wouldn't hate Milton in the 5th is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the absolute earliest I could handle it, depending on what we did before that.
Yeah.
Did we have who else do we want to talk about roster wise? Cam,
yeah, let's talk.
Yeah,
Cam.
Sure.
Yeah.
We kind of got off on a tangent there.
That's okay.
Quarterbacks.
It's
I
the off season.
I blame
never
Burner
happens
for
in
that.
this show. That never happens in this show ever.
And by the way, Aaron said he got blocked on Twitter for saying JJ McCarthy would make him sick. Yeah, well, you know what, Aaron? I mean, he made you sick for the last 2 straight years. So what else is new? And
Zing.
in any case, Cam Heyward is entering the final year. What is it? 22 million? Is that what he's going to count?
22 million cap hit, 16 million in base salary.
They got to add some of those void years, right?
So I mean, here's the solution. I'll just throw it out there.
Yeah,
is we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you give them an extension, like make it 3 years, three years total. This year plus 2 more.
3? Oh, okay. So a 2-year extension.
2-year extension. Make the 16 million the signing bonus. So he gets that all up front. Then his base salary this year is like $1 million and change.
Mm-hmm.
And then give him just some numbers the next 2 years. And if he plays, fine. If he retires, fine. But like, then now, granted, the only time they've ever done void years was the COVID year in 2021, where the cap went down and they didn't expect it. And they were trying to get one more run with Ben and all that.
Right.
They haven't done void years since then. They could do some void years with him, but like I think you just give him a 2-year extension, give him some numbers, give him like say 10 million a year in base salary the 2 following years. Maybe you give him like a roster bonus if he's still on the roster or something to kind of be like, hey, you going to retire? Or are you going to still be here? Something like that. But you can finagle it where basically his $16 million base this year, spread that out over a few years, but give him the cash up front. It's pretty easy.
My gut feeling is this is his last year.
I think so.
I really do. I think the Walter Payton Award winning, I think was kind of the final thing for him. He finally did it. It was well deserved, as we all know, and he's definitely putting himself in position, much like Ryan Clark did, to get into TV afterwards or some form of the media. It just feels like this is going to be his last year. That's just
the other option. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. The other option that they have is they could do what they did with Lawrence Timmons and just let him play out the final year of his contract.
Yeah.
And just eat the whole cap hit this year.
Yeah.
And just kind of see what happens next year. That if he wants to play another year, then maybe you do like a 1-year deal with him next year and don't really worry about the cap as much. But I mean, you could spread it out with an extension.
Yeah.
But
you do that by restructuring TJ's contract a bit.
Yeah.
Which you're going to have to redo next year anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. TJ's going to get a big extension next year too.
A monster extension because San Francisco overpaid Bosa.
Yeah, they paid Bosa 20% more than like the next highest guy. And we talked about this on the show, but the Joey Bosa contract was the edge rusher equivalent of like what the Joe Flacco contract was for quarterbacks. It just fucked up the whole market.
Okay, but what they were doing was they they compared his contract to the LA contract for what's his
Aaron
fuck?
Donald?
Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
He wanted to be the highest paid defender in the league. And so they went, okay, that's fine. 32 million. And he went, okay, cool. 3-year deal. And they went, no, 5-year deal. And then, 4-year deal. Okay. They came back to a 5-year deal. But they had to give him 34 million per to make it a 5-year deal. Because as far as he was concerned, in 3 or 4 years, 34 million wasn't going to be close to being the highest paid defender. And he wanted to be the highest paid defender. So,
Yeah.
There you have it. And TJ's agent, if he's worth his salt, is going to do the same thing. He's going to go, I want more money than Bosa got, and I want more guaranteed money than Bosa got. My guy is the best defender in the league.
Yeah. This comment that Burner's got up here, people saying Pickett would be fine, just as good as Purdy if he played in San Francisco. Here's the difference. Pickett doesn't throw guys open, and he doesn't anticipate nearly as well as Purdy.
He doesn't throw with any anticipation.
No.
This is the thing.
Those are
we talk
massive differences to me.
This is what we were talking about a year ago.
Yes.
The biggest opportunity that Kenny has is to throw with more anticipation, and he still isn't doing it.
But
then again, Mason didn't used to do that either. So,
well, you never know.
So you never know. In 7 years, Kenny might be doing that.
So one day Kenny Pickett might be as good as Mason Rudolph. That's fucking great. Like,
that right there. Say it again. That's the quote of the night.
Yeah, one day Kenny Pickett might be as good as Mason Rudolph. But no, everybody that says that about Pickett compared to Purdy led the league this year in 8 major quarterback categories.
I know.
When Kenny leads the fucking league in any category, because
Right.
I'll tell you this. So if come closer to the camera. Do you know who had just as many game-winning drives as Kenny Pickett did this year?
Gardner Minshew.
Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Zach Wilson and
Sweet.
Desmond Ritter. Do we
Sweet.
think any of them are wonderful?
Okay,
No,
let's talk
we
about the whole
don't.
game-winning drive thing right now in Pittsburgh. It's a thing in Pittsburgh because there are so many opportunities for game-winning drives because Pittsburgh plays in so many close games, which is one of the reasons I don't want Justin fucking Fields. Have you seen his fourth quarter numbers? They are terrible. Terrible. He's last in the league in just about every measurable stat there is. The guy when the bullets fly sucks. I'll stop there. Back to the Shanahan Purdy thing. I am insanely jealous of the 49ers offense because, well, one, they have Christian McCaffrey and they have a really good offensive line. So you've got a really good run game as a result. But Shanahan schemes his receivers open. And in doing so, he creates easy throwing lanes by NFL standards. He creates easy throwing lanes for a guy like Purdy, who, I'll be frank, is not the most talented guy at that position. He might not be a top 10 quarterback, but he's going to throw up amazing stats because he plays in that offense and he understands it up here. Cerebrally, he understands all of that, and that's where he's excelling. And I'm insanely jealous that they have that offense and we don't. So
seconded.
Would Kenny Pickett be better in San Francisco? Yes, he would. Would he be as good as Purdy is? I don't know. I don't think people give Purdy enough credit for how smart he is. And I'll stop there.
I agree.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, go right.
No way, man.
Sweet. I have to say I was completely wrong on Brock Purdy. I am on the record on the show of saying I wanted nothing to do with him because if you go on YouTube and look for Brock Purdy, like college bloopers or college interceptions, he had some of the worst college tape out there where like he was being sacked and just like threw the ball up in the air or like threw the ball behind him to a lineman, and like just some of the dumbest college plays you've ever seen. And I was like, I want nothing to do with this guy, and he has completely proved me wrong in the NFL. So I was absolutely wrong on Brock Purdy, and I'm willing to take that L because I was just so wrong on him.
His senior year at Iowa State, he regressed.
He had some of the dumbest, most hilarious highlights.
I'm with you, Ian. I didn't think that this was possible, what he's been doing. But I want to talk real briefly about the combine, and we'll kind of go over it much more.
You guys
next
in the
week.
chat are insane, by the way. Like, what are you...
Yeah, oh, I know. Zach Gentry comments. But I fell in love
we
today.
Love you guys.
I don't know about you. If you guys saw any of the defensive linemen today, I fell in love a couple of times. The Murphy kid out of Texas, a man that's 340 pounds just should not move the way that guy does. It's just insane. And then the Florida State kid, Fiskey, I'm not sure how he pronounces his name. It is insane the way these big people move. And I know we probably say that every single year, but either one of them, I would be just fine in the black and gold, being on our defensive line, because we do need some help there. But that's really the only comment I had about it. They'll get rolling with, I think DBs are tomorrow on the field. But the combine is what it is. It's a meat market. Guys getting prodded and poked and everything else. And what's going on here? Everybody's dropping like flies. Ian, apparently it's me and you left. So
it is. Well, and remember, StreamYard updated so like people can just stop their camera and then they drop off the screen. You don't get like
you're right
anymore.
You're right.
So
yeah,
I think they're still on, but apparently Ryan had to pee again.
Yeah, well, he's apparently getting ready for Casey Kasem.
Oh, that's true. There were some defensive linemen that put up some real good numbers, some edge rushers. The guys from Penn State, like, I mean, I live in Pennsylvania. I see a lot of Penn State games.
Right.
Penn State under James Franklin has always been like a good but not great team that it's like, okay.
Well, they lose to Ohio State and Michigan every year. That's it.
It's like they're like top 15, but they can't beat a top 10 team, right?
Yeah.
They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, but they can't beat anyone that's better than them. So, it is what it is. But these guys at Penn State come out in the combine and put out these insane numbers year after year after year. So like the strength and conditioning program at Penn State must be outstanding. Or the other thing is, let's not forget, all these guys now coming out in the draft have private trainers, have all these other stuff that specifically train them on how to run these drills that they run at the combine. Whereas, 10, 15, 20 years ago, the guys at the combine, they're just showing up and running the 40, right? Like maybe a couple of them had personal trainers and were practicing it, but like now there's a whole like, okay, how do you crouch before you push off? How do you get that burst for the first 10 yards? How do you, what's your running form like? And you get D linemen running like 4.8 40s, which is just insane for a 300-pound guy.
As Jamie pointed out, Chop Robinson today, a 4.49.
Yeah.
He's an edge rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to be the bar for wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just insane.
And I'll say this because I've heard it so many times in that building. What you run in underwear is not what you run in pads and a helmet. But like, no, you're not wrong. We always talk about bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
These dudes now are freaks. But I will say that one thing about the combine that Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to be there. Caleb Williams, he's there, but he's not throwing. But I don't
think he's performing.
He's not doing medical tests,
or whatever. Is this NIL stuff expands? I really do think that the combine will not be as important as it once was.
Khan got that question today. I don't know who it was that asked it. I couldn't quite hear their voice, but somebody asked him about the impact of NIL, and he basically just talked about the fact that we just like guys who play a lot of football. I mean, he wasn't going to go into depth in it, nor should he have, but it was a good
The
answer.
greatest value
Did you see?
at the combine?
Go ahead, Ben.
The greatest value at the combine has always been the medicals, though. Anyway, it isn't necessarily the testing, because they've already watched a ton of film. If a
Right.
guy
The medicals and the one-on-ones.
Yeah. If a guy
Yeah.
tests really, really well at the combine, they'll go back and watch film and look for things that they may not have seen before. But the way the guy plays is still going to be a bigger factor than the way he tests at the combine. Yeah, medicals and one-on-ones, exactly. You're dead on, Mark. It's like the interview process and the medicals. That's the value.
We like I said, we'll dive a lot deeper into the combine next week. Is Casey Kasem in the bullpen?
Oh, sorry. Before Ryan starts.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see the quotes from the Vikings general manager about the combine? The one that stood out to me was they asked him about like how these guys at the combine are not at their athletic peak, right? A lot of them are 20, 21 years old, 22 years old.
Yeah.
They still have room to grow into their grown men bodies, right?
Mhm.
And he said, there's not a lot of
25.
Well, yeah, and playing quarterback, right? But he had a really good quote, basically saying, there's not a lot of data on trends of how people athletically progress, but we kind of have to try and project, okay, this guy's like this now, but if he's a 21-year-old doing this, where can he get to when he's 25, 26, 27? That
Good point.
Guys are going to grow into their bodies. They're going to grow into their frames. They're going to be able to add strength. So, what you run in your 40 in the combine isn't necessarily how you're going to play in the NFL, but also some of the other things there's room to grow into too. So that's kind of there's an art and a science to it, right? It's not all just draft athletic freaks and you flourish. So that it's like, okay, well, you got to kind of figure out, like, is this guy at his physical peak or does he have room to kind of grow? And we talked a lot about that with Broderick Jones last year, that we felt like as a young guy and just kind of looking at his frame, like he was really big on top and really lean on the bottom. That was like, he's got some room to add some bulk here, but he was 21 years old. So we were like, hey, he's got time too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. I think those are excellent points. These guys are still growing, which is incredibly hard to believe.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the late, great Mr. Casey Kasem.
Yeah, Casey Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was February 29, 1973. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back again with us this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, Mr. Weidel, 2 C's, 2 D's, and an F. That's a 1.2 grade average. Congratulations, Weidel. You're at the top of the Steelers pledge class. Mr. Kahn, 0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Mr. Tomlin, president of the non-losing seasons house, 1.6. 1A and 0 playoff wins since 2017. A fine example, you said. Kenneth Shane Pickett has no grade point average. All courses incomplete. Mr. Rooney, 0.0. Casey, that's of course a parody of National Lampoon's Animal House. And before you get any ideas, Casey, no, I don't want to show you my cucumber. I couldn't even say that. But
is it sensual or sensuous?
Yeah, but I am Russ Chairman, and damn glad to meet you. Casey, I'm sure you heard about the Steelers report card by now. Of course, there was a group of Steelers fans trying to defend the grades, and in the process, they looked more desperate than a divorced mother of 3 at a Kid Rock concert. Casey, as you know, I'm an old soul, but even I can't tell a football player who spends countless hours in the facility the majority of the year that he can't ask for a better locker room, weight room, or training room. And yes, Casey, I'm well aware that the Steelers of the 70s didn't have the best accommodations. But then again, they didn't even have electricity back then. But they did have cocaine and steroids. Speaking of cocaine and steroids, if Pickett was on those, then I could finally get behind him. At least he'd show us something. Whether that be a weekend bender at Tequila Cowboy or a road rage incident on the Parkway East where he choke slammed a grandmother through her Prius windshield. Casey, earlier today, Steelers general manager Omar Khan became the third team official to say that they want Mason Rudolph back. I think we all knew it was going to be Kenny versus Mason, but it doesn't take this away the sting. Because if Mason does come back, you know he won't be given a fair shot. They'll give it to Mr. Tiny Hands himself in the hopes that he'll somehow turn it around. I guess we'll do it again. Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Down 8 spots this week to number 14. Here's Steely Dan off their album Can't Buy a Thrill. Here's Do It Again.
Fantastic. Okay, that might be the line of the year.
I hate
The worst
Steely
mother
Dan.
of 3 at a Kid
That
Rock
was
concert.
fantastic.
Wow.
And Ben, did you just say you hate Steely Dan?
I do.
Come on.
Not quite. I mean, yeah, I don't hate him. I do hate him more than Sticks. I do hate him more than Sticks. Yeah.
Really? More than Sticks? Because you hate Sticks.
I don't like Sticks either. Yeah, Steely Dan's annoying.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well. Thanks so much to our usuals that jumped on. You spent an hour and a half with us tonight. You guys are amazing. I don't know how you do it. And thanks to everybody
Steely
else.
Dan is no Carbon Leaf. Let's just put it that way.
Carbon Leaf is awesome. Hey,
Carbon Leaf sucks.
Who's
You've
Carbon
never
Leaf?
listened
Yeah,
to
what the
Carbon
hell's Carbon Leaf?
Carbon Leaf is a Irish folk rock band that is.
Oh, for the
See? Told you they suck.
That is energy efficient.
Yeah. They're like it's like flogging Molly without the electric guitars. It's
like
Molly?
flogging Molly without the fun or the alcohol.
Oh, well.
oh no, there's plenty of alcohol.
It's just like that.
We need to do an overtime one of these days.
We do,
apparently.
yes.
Let's talk about bands.
Yes.
Anyway, thanks everybody. It has been another great show. Thank you to everybody who's been in the chat. Thanks to those who watch and listen on their own time. We really, really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be very appreciated as well. And of course, check out the website, steelcityblitz.com. All right, we are getting out of here. And as always, thank you for listening to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Yes, they do.
No,